So welcome to Nifty 50 Photographers, and in today's video I'm going to be looking at the Sony A7 C2 with the Sony 24-70 GM2 lens on it. And I've come to Morecambe. I'm going to do a bit of street photography. Now I have to say a 24-70 isn't my first choice for street photography. I'd normally go with a prime like 50mm. But I've recently got this, the camera's new to me as well. I wanted to try out the combination together. I really wanted to use the A7 C2 in a different situation to my everyday work, which is, as many of you know, is property stuff. So we're going to have a little walk around Morecambe and see what we can find. Now I'll try and give you some tips on street photography on the way. My first tip is go and find the light. And I'll just turn the camera around and you can see what sort of a day it is and what location we're at. So this is where we are. In the distance you can see the Midland Hotel, and over here is a very scruffy old outdoor market, a bit run down now. Now when I say go and find the light, what I'm really meaning is go and find some contrast, go and find some difference between light and shade. So that's the first thing I'm going to look for, and that's why I thought this outdoor market might be useful. It's got a cover, so should be some bits that are in the shade. Other places you could look for would be, you know, streets with tall buildings where the sun's only hitting one side, and just looking for a subject that might make our composition interesting. Found quite an interesting scene where the sun is creating some interesting shadows and contrast for me. And I'm just going to hang around here and wait for somebody to walk into my scene and then take the shot. Just while we're waiting for somebody, let me tell you about my camera settings. So normally for street photography, I set my ISO to auto, put my camera in aperture priority mode, and set an aperture that gives me the kind of depth of field that I want. Now, I don't usually go super wide open, just in case I miss the focus, and I want to keep the whole scene looking reasonably sharp, so I might choose something more like f6.3 or f5.6, but I will play around with that according to the kind of shot I'm doing. For something like the one I'm just setting up here, then my depth of focus probably can be bigger, so I could go up to f8 even. The other thing I'll do, set my drive mode to continuous, because sometimes you just want to get that particular moment. By doing it continuously, and you give yourself the best chance, because you're going to get a burst of photos. And shooting digital, as long as you've got plenty of memory card, you can get away with that too. The other things I sometimes play around with is the creative look. I might actually put on black and white if I'm thinking of converting the photo to black and white, so I can see what it looks like as I take it. Set your autofocus to continuous, and I usually set it as a spot focus, but use a wide spot just in case you don't frame it perfectly. Now often with street photography you're taking things quickly, and that's why I set my focus to continuous, so I've got the best chance of doing it. If you've got things like subject recognition, which I have on the A7 C2, I've set that to human, because street photography is all about taking pictures of humans. So let's see what we can grab. So the sun's gone behind a cloud, I've lost the contrast that I was looking for. I'm heading off to another location. I head on to the prom, hope it's a bit busier, a few more people around. See if I can find an interesting composition. Well, sometimes with street photography it's not just about getting people, it's maybe things that catch your eye. I found a line of boats here that looks interesting, and it's a good chance for me to try out the camera and see what it can do and get a feel for how it performs and feels in my hand. So I'll take a couple of shots here. There's a scene just in front of me with a row of poles. It would be great if people would walk down through it, but they all seem to be avoiding. I thought it would make some lovely leading lines. Probably me just standing here might put people off, especially if I've got a camera in my face. And sometimes that's a good point. It puts people off doing street photography because you're not photographing somebody you know. It's a random stranger, you don't know how they'll react. So what I would advise is just have something in mind first. You know, have a story that might make sense why you're here today. Maybe you're doing a photo project, maybe just learning how to use your camera like I am. If you say something like that and you smile and you're friendly, really have any problems. And many a time, you might get a nice portrait out of it if you just ask politely. You know, you've got to build up a bit of a rapport, You know, maybe there's something you like that's photogenic about the person. Say, you know, I love your hairstyle, or I love you way you're dressed, or maybe you've got a great moustache, whatever it is. Would you mind if I take your portrait? 9 times out of 10, you'll get a yes if you've built that little bit of rapport. And show them the picture you've taken on the back of the camera afterwards. If they don't like it, you can offer to delete it. If they do, maybe you can send them a copy and they'll be highly delighted. So that's how I cope with it. And the more you do it, the more you'll get used to it. One other important point about street photography is you need to warm up. Often when you get there, you'll feel a bit nervous, perhaps. Just start taking a few photos. It doesn't matter what it is, how it comes out. It's just that process, using your camera, getting started with it. And the other thing I would say to people is don't be scared of going back to the same location over and over again. Even you think you might get stale, next time you go back, I guarantee you'll see something different. And it's a good chance to get a completely different shot. The weather conditions will be different, the people there will be different as well. So you'll definitely get some different shots, and you're getting the practice in, which is the one thing that'll make you a better street photographer. So I found what's making an interesting composition. There's a compass point that's been engraved into the ground, and it kind of leads you nicely into the frame. So I'm going to use this. I shall probably zoom in, get one of the letters right in my foreground. Using a rule of thirds grid, I'd put it right in the bottom third so that the letter is focused there, and then I can take advantage of people walking in and out of the frame. There's a bit of wall art here that's got the word fabulous on it, and the sun. It just really needs, I think, a person walking by it or into the frame, and that'll make an interesting shot too. So that was my little walk around Morecambe, trying out the A7 C2 and the 24-70 lens, and I'll leave you with a selection of photos I took on my walkabout. My impressions of the camera, actually I'm really chuffed with it. The speed of focus was lightning fast, especially with this lens. There was 1 or 2 shots where somebody just literally walked into my frame and it focused on them straight away, and they've come out nice and sharp, so really pleased with that. Generally, it's a nice light camera. As I say, I wouldn't normally use a 24-70. I'd use something like a 50mm or a 35mm prime, which would make it a little bit lighter to carry around. But if you're just starting out in street photography, sometimes the telephoto is a bit less intimidating because you don't have to get as close to the people as you would with a shorter focal length prime. But give it a go. The greatest thing about street photography is the thing that will improve your street photography the most is practice, practice, practice. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it, and the easier you will find to find locations, subjects, and compositions. So in the meantime, why don't you go out, give it a go, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.